We can say what we want about the Packers' performance against Indianapolis, two games in a row that the first half didn't go that great. And in fact, quite frankly, we're a little sloppy, but the Green Bay Packers just got the break they needed that we're going to talk about in this video. Sure, we can talk about the fact that our second round draft pick, our tackle, Anthony Belton, had a boatload of penalties and costly penalties at that false start, unnecessary roughness, face mask. Then face mask actually ended up being the play that running back Emmanuel Wilson fumbled on. And then there was consecutive illegal formation fouls, which, he wasn't lined up at the line of scrimmage. The last two penalties that he had wiped away: a 20-yard touchdown catch by Ben Sims, a 17-yard completion by Will Shepherd when they got inside the 5 just before halftime and the Packers had to settle for a field goal. That was what we had talked about last season. Those were key, costly, stall driving, penalties for the Green Bay Packers at all the first half of last season. They got that cleaned up after the bye week. Matt LaFleur said going into the bye week, hey, we got to clean up our penalties that are just stalling out drives. You can't afford to have some sloppy play, but to be expected with a rookie offensive lineman who has his hands full. He looked good the first preseason game, didn't look that great this preseason game, but it all, wasn't all bad for him. What do I mean by that? Okay, so Anthony Belton, keep your eye on him. He's the right tackle here. He's in for Zach Tom. Okay, so keep your eye on him. He's the dude that is pushing his guys straight back, 4 yards back. Listen, the penalties, they're going to work themselves out. Okay. So, of course, you don't want to have consistency of that. He didn't have that the first preseason game. Is that a worry? Is that a cause to, or a reason to be concerned as a Packer fan, or even if you are on staff of the Green Bay Packer organization and you're looking at a guy that you spent a second round draft pick, Anthony Belton, and he's racking up these penalties that cost you guys some drives, some points on the board, all of that? Well, better get that out of your system right now before the regular season actually starts. Okay. So when we take a look at some really good things that happened from the Green Bay Packers, one of them is, and this is what I talk about when I say the Green Bay Packers just got the break they needed, and it happens to be this is the second week in a row. So Jordan Morgan was a first round draft pick for the Green Bay Packers out of Arizona. And there's a lot of Packer fans that were completely puzzled by that, and you can make the argument we should have, gone defensively. There's a defensive guy in Philadelphia. I'm not going to name his name. I was certainly on board for the Green Bay Packers getting him. Now, I'm not saying that the Packers still shouldn't have gone that direction, but they didn't. And now they find themselves with a first round draft pick that was injury prone all last season. In fact, there's another guy, Marshawn Lloyd, that was completely injury prone as well. But I want to give some bright spot to that. Okay. So if you look at PFF and their overall scores for the Green Bay Packers, two of their top 5 PFF rated guys were Jordan Morgan and Amir Johnson. Okay, so Amir Johnson, and the reason why I'm saying that is, yes, we get Marshawn Lloyd, who again goes out with an injury. He had a big play, then he goes out with a hamstring injury, and it's like, oh my gosh, what is happening with Marshawn Lloyd? Is this dude just going to be? It's reminding me very reminiscent of a guy that everybody knows quite well, and Christian Watson, who just could not stay healthy. He's coming up with hamstring injuries. He's getting all these injuries, right? And you're seeing them stack up. But Jordan Morgan had a good game overall. Morgan didn't allow a single pressure over 15 pass blocking snaps and earned a near elite pass blocking grade, building his impressive performance in the preseason opener. That's big news for Green Bay Packer fans. That's the break that we've been looking for. That, okay, Brian Gutekunst certainly knew what he was doing when he drafted Jordan Morgan. And, Rasheed Walker, he better hurry it back from his injury, because Jordan Morgan may be pushing him out of that starting lineup. But what a great problem to have if you're a Green Bay Packer fan. You've got multiple left tackles that you can plug and play and be productive with. I really, really like Rasheed Walker. And now you got this guy that is not coming up on a contract year in Jordan Morgan. So it's obviously going to be advantageous for the Green Bay Packer organization to keep Jordan Morgan in there. Okay, so let's take a look at the overall box score for the Green Bay Packers because keep in mind, Malik Willis did pretty well. Okay, he didn't do too bad. 6 of 14, 83 yards, but Elgersma and Clifford were kind of the bright spots. And when I say Clifford, I say that loosely. I mean, he had a good scamper in for that touchdown run. It was 11 yards out for a touchdown run there for him. But Elgersma showed off his arm strength at times. He had an overall passer rating of a 96.4. 7 of 11, 109 yards passing. The Green Bay Packers ended up, showing some heart in this game. They come back. Yes, it is just preseason. Yes, we are just talking about the backups and all of that, but that's good news for the Green Bay Packers. You can see on this list, Marshawn Lloyd, 1 reception, 33 yards. That's what this dude can do. That's what he can showcase out there. However, the dude has got to stay healthy. Marshawn Lloyd has got to stay out on the football field. We're just talking about preseason, and he can't stay in a full performance. That is completely alarming. If you're a Packer organization or a Packer fan, man, that completely alarms me. But then you've got, the fumble by Emmanuel Wilson that he lost. But man, if I'm Emmanuel Wilson, I'm seeing Amir Johnson just right in the rearview mirror. 7 carries, 22 yards, and a touchdown. 9 yards was his longest run. The Green Bay Packers defensively, I want to label some bright spots here. Isaiah Simmons was not a bright spot. Okay, so this is a guy that we're going to do another video on about Isaiah Simmons only. Welch had a very good performance. Okay, Bo Melton had a good performance as well. He had a pass deflection. But a couple of guys I want to talk about. Tyron Hopper had a really good game. Same thing with Katana Ladapo, who I really like a lot. So hats off to Jeff Halfley and the defense for coming up with, in my opinion, a pretty big performance out there defensively. The bright spots, Katana Ladapo had a 75.8 PFF score. By the way, I forgot to mention Jordan Morgan's PFF score of a 74.6, but then you had Micah Robinson sneaking in the top 5 of the Green Bay Packers defensively for PFF score. He had a 69.1. That's encouraging news for Packer fans out there, especially at the DB position. Tyron Hopper had a 74 per PFF score. So Oladapo broke up a pass, didn't have a missed tackle, and he didn't give up a catch over 39 steps. That's huge. Hopper was solid against the run. He had a run stop and didn't allow a completion into his coverage as well. Very good news for Packer fans out there. Also, Micah Robinson wasn't targeted in coverage despite playing 18 snaps out there. So that is good for the Green Bay Packers because defensively for the Packers, there's a lot of great things to celebrate, a lot of good things out there. Leave your comments, and as always, go Pack Go.